Does alcohol promote social bonding, or is it a substitute for real community? Why do we toast to connection, while so many find it difficult to be sincere while sober? Could drinking culture be masking a deeply prevalent social anxiety? And if so, how can learning about vulnerability and authenticity help to lower our inhibitions without the buzz? All of that and more in today's video. Why do so many of us feel like we need alcohol just to feel like ourselves around others? Even for those of us who may not drink often, we likely have friends or family who seem to rely on alcohol to feel comfortable in social scenarios. Let's imagine a recent college graduate named Luke. He may not be dependent on alcohol in the clinical sense. He may not drink excessively, neglect responsibilities, or endanger others. In fact, in many ways, he may still seem to function quite well. But whenever he's invited to social gatherings, a silent equation plays out in his head. One drink to calm the nerves, a second to feel charming, and a third to believe that he's worth the attention of the others there. He doesn't think of himself as insecure, per se, but without a drink in his hand, the weight of social expectation feels overwhelming. He's hyper-aware of how he's sitting, how much he's smiling, whether he's talking too much or not enough. The room may not feel hostile, but it feels like a mirror, one that reflects back all the things he's afraid he might be. Awkward, boring, and forgettable. Sober, he can't shake the thought that maybe he just doesn't belong. With drink in hand, though, he suddenly seems less afraid, more willing to let loose without worrying about feeling judged. The glass becomes his mask, his buffer, his bridge to other people. Perhaps the drink does help him let loose. But when connection is only achieved through a chemical veil, what kind of connection is it really? And what would it take to feel that same freedom without it? Luke's story isn't unusual, and that's exactly the problem. If we can only feel socially confident, connected, or even lovable when we have a glass in hand, then alcohol betrays a deeper discomfort with our own unfiltered presence. It may not look like addiction in the traditional sense, but there's still a quiet dependency at play. Not on alcohol itself, but on the social lubricant we perceive alcohol to be. Of course, one might argue that this isn't really a problem at all. If someone isn't drinking excessively and actually feels more connected during social events, what's the issue? Is it really so bad to use a tool readily at our disposal to aid our social lives? After all, the Canadian philosopher Edward Slingerland writes in his book Drunk, How We Sipped, Danced, and Stumbled Our Way to Civilization, that alcohol has long served as a social technology aiding the growth of human civilization, lowering inhibitions, fostering trust, and strengthening group bonds. In this sense, alcohol can be seen not as a crutch but as a tool, one that has played a pivotal role in helping humans connect more freely and build social cohesion. It's true that social use of alcohol in and of itself is not problematic. In fact, drinking is an inextricable part of the social rituals of cultures all around the world. That said, there's a difference between using something intentionally and needing it reflexively. When we rely on alcohol to unlock parts of ourselves we're too afraid to show while sober, we're masking social wounds we carry with ourselves every second we're sober. So if we're only able to be open, playful, or honest after a few drinks, we have to ask, what's stopping us from being that way the rest of the time? According to the journalist Johann, social dependence on alcohol typically derives from underlying feelings of disconnection, alienation, and lack of belonging, acting as a form of self-medication. Alcohol in this context becomes less a celebration of social bonding and more an attempt to mask the ache of feeling alone in a crowded room. While self-medication may alleviate the symptoms of loneliness for a time, it never ultimately treats it. When our need to belong is consistently mediated by intoxication, we start to believe that our sober selves aren't worthy of connection at all. How then can we achieve authentic connection with others without relying on alcohol? As mentioned in my previous video on true belonging, Brene Brown argues that real connection is built not through the remolding of oneself to fit in, but through genuine vulnerability, the willingness to be fully seen even when it feels risky. While alcohol may seem like a beneficial way to let down one's guard, it doesn't facilitate true vulnerability for a simple reason. We don't show our full selves when we rely on numbing to let loose. One can only be authentic if one's thoughts and actions remain consistent. As Karol Wojtyla writes in The Acting Person, to live authentically is to act in a way that is integrated with one's inner self, to allow our actions to express who we truly are. When we separate our social behavior from our sober intentions, we risk fragmenting that unity. We may seem more confident or expressive with a drink in hand, but if that behavior isn't rooted in the self we inhabit when fully conscious and present, it becomes a kind of performance, one that ultimately distances us from the very intimacy we seek. It's only when we are aware, deliberate, and unguarded that we give others the opportunity to truly know us. And just as importantly, it's only in that state that we can really know them. Connection isn't just about what we reveal about ourselves. It's also about how we attend to others. As the Irish philosopher Iris Murdoch writes in The Sovereignty of Good, true goodness towards others, the basis of meaningful connection, begins with a sustained, attentive gaze, an unselfish focus on the reality of another person. Such a vision of care requires clarity of mind and presence of heart, qualities that become compromised when we rely on anything, including alcohol, to dull discomfort. When our perception is clouded, we don't just lose touch with ourselves. We lose the ability to see others as they are, to respond with genuine care rather than reflex or projection. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh echoes this perspective in The Art of Communicating, wherein he argues that mindful presence, deep listening, truthful speech, and an awareness of the present moment is essential to any meaningful exchange. Real communication, he suggests, begins when we set aside our desire to control how we're perceived and instead offer our full, undistracted attention for the sake of the other. In that light, alcohol doesn't just alter how we present ourselves. It also distorts our capacity to see and receive others with the depth they deserve. Connection rooted in mindfulness may not always feel effortless, but it's the kind of connection that heals, endures, and makes us more fully human. To be truly present with someone is to offer them a rare gift, the assurance that they matter enough to be met without distraction or pretense. And when we offer that gift to others, we increase the chances we receive that gift back in return. In short, alcohol at its best can mark celebration, soften edges, and momentarily bring people together. But it should never be the only means to bridge the social gap that exists between us. When connection depends on a drink, we're silencing the part of ourselves that long to be known as we are. Our desire to belong as our authentic selves deserves better than temporary relief. It deserves the real thing. While the journey toward authentic connection is slower, sometimes awkward, and often uncomfortable, it's also lasting, transformative, and deeply human. So the next time we feel pressured to reach for a glass to be funnier, braver, or more lovable, perhaps we should pause and ask, what would it mean to believe we already are? What do you think? Should we strive to form connections without needing to rely on alcohol? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when new videos are released. Also be sure to like this video so that YouTube recommends it to others. If you would like to support this channel for as little as $1 a month, you can also become a supporter on Patreon. Links in the description of this video. The road to authenticity may not be easy, but never forget, you don't need to be anyone other than who you are to be worthy of connection. You don't need a drink to be funnier, softer, or more lovable. The courage to show up as yourself, fully present, fully sober, is more than enough. Growth doesn't happen all at once, but every step towards honesty is a step towards truer happiness. Wherever you are in that journey, know that you are not alone. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Peace be with you. This has been The Philosopher.